What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Busy Sticks, the Geek versus All video game talk show. It's good to be back. We missed a week. We missed you guys. We missed hanging out with you in the chat at twitch.tv/thegeekiverse. But got a lot of good stuff on the show today, including a nice discussion on our impressions for Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. It's here! The Skywalker Saga. I just made up a name. I made up a name. Yeah, I can't believe that the game actually, the real title, actually found its way to my PlayStation. It's been a long time coming. So I'm Josiah Leroy. With me today, Mr. Baba Yaga, John Fick. John, it's good to be back. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good. We missed just a week, like you said, but I feel like it's been a month for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know what to do with my hands. Is my mic okay? I don't even it feels like we've been off of this for a while, and it's literally just been a week, like you said. This is weird.
For sure, and it's funny because like last spring we kind of relaunched things here at the Geekiverse a bit, and it took a little bit of a few weeks, a few months to get going with what we were doing with our schedules. Life happened, and here we're in such a groove. We miss a week, and it's like, oh my gosh,
yeah, it's
been a long time.
It's like a disruption in my life. It's like a staple for my weeks now.
Yeah, 100%. I'm totally with you there. So good to be back talking video games. The nice thing is here on Busy Sticks, we don't just love video games. We also love beer. And what goes better hand in hand with video games than beer? I'm going to take it off first here. Take it off first. Wow.
Take it off first. Go for it.
So what I've got here, I'm going back to what is almost constantly my favorite. Sloop Brewing, the Sour Peach.
Ooh,
so
okay.
A little bit of a lighter. I would classify this. I don't know that they do, but this is definitely a session sour in my mind. We got a 4.3%, definitely on the light side, but it's got a nice mix between having that lightness and a full flavor, so to speak. So that is one that you definitely could classify as. I've enjoyed what I've had with those so far, but that is my choice for tonight.
I haven't had that beer, but you just kind of saying it and describing it is super nostalgic to me because the first sour beer I've ever had and what's ever gotten me into sours, this was way before the sour craze took off and it was a weird thing to me at the time, was Dogfish Head. They had a beer called Festina Peche. It was a summer release only. Dogfish Head Festina Peche. It was amazing. And the summer that I found that beer, I was buying my fridge was stocked with it the entire summer. And for the next 3 years, I was on their website waiting for them to give the information as to when that was coming back in season. And they haven't produced it in a few years. And looking back, it's probably just a decent, decent light sour. But when I first had it, I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is the best. So that reminds me of that beer. I miss that. But tonight, no sour for me, as per usual. I got an IPA. This is Thin Man. This is, you know what? When you were holding up your can, it kind of looked like this can. I'm like, did we finally bring the same beer? But this is Thin Man's backwards marathon.
That is what I had before the show.
Really?
Tonight. I was like, do I? So I just got it at Wegmans. Do I have this on the show tonight? But I was thinking, I've had the Sloop one here in my fridge for a long time, so I'm going to have that before it gets really not so fresh. That's the closest you and I ever came to having the same one on the show, though.
Wow.
Which, hey, yeah, dude.
It's going to happen one of these weeks. But
you'll see it from a few hours ago.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, Thin Man's always fun. They're constantly putting out these small batch IPAs, and they're really, really nicely priced. It's $15 for a 4-pack, so it's always it's easy to try it out. I'm I don't feel bad about buying a whole 4-pack of something new because it's not that expensive. This is a collaboration, looks like, with Dancing Gnome as well. So excited for that. Always have fun can art with Thin Man as well. Good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's a really nicely balanced double IPA because sometimes that is not the case. Sometimes they can be a little too intense or maybe they lack in one area, but that one I think finds a way to check off all the boxes. But anyway, cheers, my man.
Cheers, man.
I've got the Thin Man glass. So
of course you do. I could have done the same thing, but I'm just stupid. I never do that. That's good.
We don't really, despite having a new beer each every time we have this recording. I feel like we don't talk enough about beer. I just wanted to go off on just a touch of a tangent.
Do it.
So I've been, as you know, on a sour kick for years. Like I'm surprised it hasn't gone away yet. But like anytime there's a new sour, it's really hard for me not to try it, whether it's at Wegmans or we're out at whatever brewery. But I feel like I've had recently a gradual shift in my IPA taste, which I think you've already been through a little bit. So the hazy IPA is always a go-to for me. Give me that hazy, juicy IPA, cloudy, however you describe it. West Coast has been calling my name a little bit. I know you've been there.
It's crazy how secular it is because it's been happening to me. Like it seems like it's happening to everybody, man. It's weird.
It's bizarre. So there's that, and then this was very short-lived, but also recently, and I really do mostly like all beer types, but I've got my go-tos like a sour or an IPA of any sort. I did have a short-lived hankering for stouts. It was like 2 or 3 weeks. That was it, and I was just like I couldn't get enough. Wherever I was, I wanted a stout. Even out to dinner, that's what I wanted to have. And normally, I think those don't pair well for me, whatever I'm having. But that's kind of what I went through. So it's funny to see like the shift to see what you're currently or
Right.
whatever your kind of hot topic of the week is. You know?
Yeah, it's crazy. It is weird. Like, I don't know if it's just because the breweries are making these beers specifically, so you kind of like you see it on the board and you think that must be it's the new one. So you're maybe confusing a craving with like just wanting to try the new thing. But it's crazy how people's taste buds seem to be secular like that. Because yeah, the whole hazy thing, I still like hazy IPAs; they're really good. But like when I go to a brewery and the board is filled with them, I'm looking for the one that's the most hoppy right now at this point. Like I want the one that's more bitter and I guess what we'll call West Coast nowadays. So it's crazy, but it's fun. There's always something out there. That's why I love this hobby.
Yeah, for sure. And like you could theoretically try something new every week and just never run out. And especially even locally in Buffalo, like we're spoiled, man.
Oh yeah,
we really are. It's awesome.
Yeah, speaking of being spoiled here in Buffalo, in chat, twitch.tv/thegeekiverse, we got a question for you. Courtney Fick, Joe, what's your favorite brewery? That's a tough one. Tough question.
So I could go a number. I love Big Ditch still to this day. That's always been a good one for me. Eli Fish has been a really nice obsession for Lauren and I. Budweiser. No. So yeah, Eli Fish does everything well. They've done every style of beer far with a pretty high level of quality, I think. But it may come down to 2 for me. I freaking love Roth. I can't get enough of their beer smoothies, as we so lovingly call them. And I would say Thin Man.
Yeah.
Every time I see something new from Thin Man, just about I have to try it. They do really well with their sours. Minky Boodle is maybe my favorite sour of all time. We get into I think they do hazy IPAs really well. Trial by Wombat comes to mind. Burning Money comes to mind. They've done a number of really good beers over the years, and they always crank out something new, either only changes it in the iteration of that beer. But I think, at this point in time, if you had to push come to shove, it's probably Thin Man in terms of what we've gotten. I'll also say this, though. Other half has been climbing my list quickly, and it's unreal how many other half beers I've had, especially just on Busy Sticks. And we've done, I don't know, close to 15 episodes, right around there right now. Right. So you can't go wrong with any of those. I think if push comes to shove, I land on probably Thin Man. I
can't answer that question. To me, it's just it's like I said before, it's so cyclical with my taste and what establishment I enjoy visiting, and it's even interesting because I would almost filter how much do I enjoy going to that place, in my answer to that question. But at the same time, there's breweries I'd put in that conversation that I've only been to once that aren't even from the state of New York that I can't, get to often. Like the Alchemist comes to mind in Vermont. I've only been there once. Fiddlehead comes to mind as one of my all-time favorite breweries as in terms of the beer they put out. Same thing with Lawson's Finest Liquids. Those, I haven't even been to those places, but they put out if I'm at a beer shop and there's a new beer by either of them, I'm taking it home, So it's. Yeah, Josh in chat, same thing. The answer, never been there, but insane. So I couldn't answer that question. I don't know. There's too many. I've got too many touchstones for too many different reasons with breweries. It's a lot.
It's a good problem to have. one last thought here too. If I'm thinking outside of New York for places we've been, Ouzelfinch is a place close to Norfolk that I visited last summer. I brought something back for John. I think a few actually.
Yeah, I think I got a 4-pack.
What you experienced was good. I think, it wasn't over the top. It wasn't legendary, but they had a beer there called marshmallow, but smashmallow, and it was like the thickness that you would see in something from Froth, like in some of their liquid lollipops, and it was unreal. Like that opened my eyes to wanting any sort of marshmallow in beer that I could get. So anytime something lists marshmallow, I'm like, oh, I think I want that. But that also turned Lauren on to sours. So as I think Courtney knows, Lauren is Untapped now, and it's kind of fun to share in that, especially with someone like Lauren who has just never wanted anything to do with beer in general. Right. And granted, I'll be the first to admit that sours, you're a little bit cheating with those. Froth, off the charts. It's just out of left field, but I don't care. It's great. Anyway, yeah. Lauren really has been in those, and that's kind of fun to, hey, Froth's coming out with a new liquid lollipop. Let's make a trip. The only problem is we split that 4-pack now, so
right.
That's where it comes. That's where the bad comes in.
That's the trade-off.
It's a small price to pay. Yes, for sure. So it's fun, but I remember I was kind of typing up show notes for this, and I was just reflecting on some of the stuff I had recently. Like, let's talk about the different styles. Let's incorporate just a little bit more beer into this show. So happy to have that discussion. Looking forward to a little bit more of it as we move on.
Yeah, I swear this is a video game podcast. We're gonna get to that.
We got plenty of time for video games. Speaking of which, show and tell. I'm gonna take this one. It's here. It's in my hands. I've played through almost 6 movies worth so far.
Wow.
And I can't wait to talk about my experience later in the show, because it is special and for so many reasons. But got the deluxe edition right here for PS5. Ready? John, you got a good view of that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Pop that off. Pop the top off, baby. That is a Lego minifig. That's so cool. That's a super cool special edition.
It's perfect. It lines up perfect. Like, I couldn't believe that was a thing. Also, by the way, if you're listening on podcast services around the globe, I've got a special steelbook. I love this. It's Han and Carbonite.
Oh, did that come extra with Best Buy?
It did.
Okay.
I want to say for pre-ordering. I don't know if it was tied to deluxe, but
so what's the case look like for the deluxe? Is that also a steelbook?
Nope. It is a little bit wider.
Okay.
So you can see nothing really special inside.
Is it just like
there's nothing but
like the actual copy of the game?
Yes.
Okay. So like the standard slipcover case, everything like that.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's what that looks like inside your typical PS5. It did come with something Lego. I ship it is, but I have yet to build that. I've just been playing the game.
Yeah.
That is one of the coolest flip covers I've seen. It's very creative. Kudos to the team at Traveler's Tales and Disney for making that happen.
Yep.
It's been a few weeks since I've had anything different in my system. I'm very curious to hear what's in your system. We've already talked about what beers you're drinking, but what video games are you playing?
So I am happy to report that I have finished Horizon Forbidden West. That's done. I've completed Horizon Forbidden West. It took me way longer than I expected to, but I bought a house and I had that happening, and then I started a new job. So it's like I got a lot of stuff happening, right? So it took me a long time, but man, once I was able to sit down, it was like a Friday or Saturday. Once I was able to sit down and like really crack the nut on the gameplay loop, it's like, ooh, all right, I'm beating this game this weekend. I don't care if I was like 12 hours in. I'm like, I'm putting the 30 hours that I need to beat this game this weekend. And I did exactly that. It's awesome. I will say that there's things that I like about the first game better. I think overall I like the story and 100% the pacing of the story better in the first game. I think that's kind of like a no-brainer for me. Like the story and the pacing of that story better in the first game, but everything else better in the second game. Everything else. gameplay, visuals, the gameplay loop, the quality of the side quests, all that kind of stuff. That's all better in the sequel here. Ooh, got a nice little subscriber here. Thank you, Mr. V Collage. Horizon. Horizon Forbidden West. No. Oh, now I got the Cantina song playing right now. It's gonna come through on stream. So wait for it to finish.
You got it. It's not. As I said, Horizon Forbidden Dawn.
No, it is the Forbidden West. That's the one. Yes. I've been struggling with those titles for since the game came out. Overall, I would say I would put them neck and neck. I would say that those games are pretty equal. Forbidden West and Zero Dawn. Those are both very, very good games. 9 out of 10 worthy type games. But they do kind of run together for me with a lot of the similarities and some of the strengths and weaknesses. But I beat it. I'm happy about it. I'm not going to go back for the platinum. I know that's something you have achieved, right? You got the platinum on that game. Yes.
Yes.
I don't have the interest in that. I just don't. It's one of those things where it's I do want to exist in that world a little more because it's fun. I just don't feel like grinding the side missions and doing the stuff, and it's not appealing to me. So it's not gonna do it.
Hey, if it doesn't have, don't waste your time for sure.
Right.
I did platinum it. That was kind of my plan. Once I saw the trophy list, I had a little bit of a plan to go through that and strategize how I was going to tackle it, and it worked out. So I also, of course, finished the game about 60 hours or so, platinum that. And I got to say, I like this one actually a lot better than the first, but I also did like the first. I'm not trying to say I didn't like it. This one was this was my Horizon so far. What a great time I had. The trophy hunt made it even more all the more special afterwards. But gameplay was more fun. Thought the story was actually a little bit more engrossing for me, and I'm just excited that they did it again. So hope we get more of it in the future. I'm sure we will.
I mean, it was no spoilers, but the story was very much set up for a third game here. So the whole time, the story felt like the middle movie in a trilogy. And I kind of always felt that way. I thought the story was good. For me, the biggest issue I had was the first 5 hours of that story. I felt like it was so handholdy in terms of getting you up to speed and reminding you what happened last time. It was man, just you guys already played a little montage video. That's good enough. I don't need to be told this again through the first couple of missions here. So that it just felt the pacing wasn't where I wanted it to be, and I did wish that it ended on a higher note. Ending was good. I just felt Zero Dawn was a little bit more of a complete experience than this one was story wise.
I would say Zero Dawn feels more like a one-off game,
for sure,
despite it being a part of this universe universe. But once you get into you really should have a good context around what happened with one, and they do that early on in the game.
Yes, and I guess more so to that point, that's a great point. Whereas Horizon Zero Dawn is a game that you can play, and you can never touch a PlayStation again in your life, and you can enjoy that experience because there was a true ending, there was a resolution to Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Horizon Forbidden West very much doesn't have that. They ask a lot of questions. They're all right, we're going to give you these answers in the next one for sure. And again, that's awesome because we love playing the game so much, but they're just kind of different experiences.
Yeah, that's for sure. Which was nice. It differentiates itself enough that if you played the first, you can feel a little bit of a freshness with the second one.
Right.
Anything else that you're playing at all, John?
So Horizon doesn't even come close hour-wise in these last couple of weeks compared to what I've been putting in with MLB The Show on the Switch. I did it. I was so tempted. I'm I'm a huge baseball fan. I buy MLB The Show every year, and I have since 2012. The first time I could when I was able to get it on a Vita because I didn't own a PS3. So I've purchased MLB The Show every year besides last year because last year it was on Xbox Game Pass, so I didn't have to purchase it. And guess what? It's on Xbox Game Pass again this year. So I'm okay, cool. The show's coming out. Wait a minute, it's coming out for Switch. That's a problem. That is a problem for me. This game exists on a subscription that I already paid for. Am I really going to pay $60 to buy this on the Switch? Worth every freaking penny. I am playing so much more of that game because it's handheld. I'm just sitting here in between stuff, getting a couple batters down, a couple innings down. I'm chipping away. I'm probably 3, 6, 9, 12. I'm at least 15 games into my season, and I've been playing it for about a week and a half. Whenever it came out, week and a half-ish. I'm playing so much more of this game than I would be if I had to sit down in front of my TV, boot up the Xbox, and only be focusing on that. How does it run? It's fine. I don't think it's obviously nowhere close to current gen or even last gen systems. It's 30 frames per second, and if you've heard of the term anti-aliasing, the Switch version is pro aliasing. They love aliasing on this version. Like there's so many little jaggies. There's a lot of there's not too much crispness going on when it comes to the edges and a lot of this stuff. In the draw distance, things get blurry, things like that. But it's totally fine. Like you're playing it, especially in handheld mode on that relatively small screen, a couple inches away from your eyes. Like it's not bad. It still feels like a baseball sim. It doesn't feel like I'm playing like an RBI baseball where things are cartoony. It still feels like a full-fledged baseball sim game, and I've got it in the palm of my hand. So I haven't even downloaded it on my Xbox yet, which I can do for free. I'm just playing it all right here, and I'm so happy that the show is on Switch.
Dude, I knew as that was announced for Switch that's where you were going. I just did. And honestly, that's the way to go in my mind, even though we have it on Game Pass. Yes, yeah. Game Pass is great. It's going to look freaking awesome on your Series X. That's not the point. It's a sports game. You can play an entire season on the go, and that's why it's so appealing to me. That's why I've been crying for what feels like a decade now for a handheld version of NHL.
Right.
Oh my gosh,
dude.
Give me that on Switch, and I would probably play an entire dynasty.
We've beaten this horse to death, saying that oh my god, it would be perfect game on Switch. It would be awesome if I can have that game portably. It doesn't get more true than sports games. Like being able to just pick it up and put it down and chip away at an 82 or 162 game season in baseball's case, like that's just like it's so valuable. I'm playing it so much more, and I'm pumped about it. And like honestly, it doesn't look incredible, but I'm still impressed at how good it does look and how good it does run. I'm not getting a lot of drops and animations, frames and stuff like that. It's a steady 30 frames per second. It's very, very playable. The one thing that is weird is, you know how the Nintendo Switch, the A button is confirm, right? There are some weird inconsistencies with like the fact that they're still treating B as the confirm button because of its placement on the controller, and the fact that they're kind of just mirroring an Xbox and a PlayStation controller. So B being the bottom button, they're still using that to confirm sometimes, but then you have to use Nintendo's A button to confirm sometimes too for different things. So it seems like certain things are programmed to be like, all right, use the system level confirm button, but no, over here we're going to use our confirm button. So that's been a little weird, and like I've actually screwed up pitching because of that, because like I'm not going to get into it. You can confirm with, I'm getting into it, I guess. You can confirm with the pitch button that you selected. So let's say I'm throwing a curveball that's on X, I can confirm it with X, or I can confirm it with the confirm button, and it's just out of whack because of that weird thing. So I've missed pitches basically because I've had to like retrain myself. So that's like the one oversight, but other than that, it's been awesome.
It sounds like the experience I would expect and hope for on the Switch. And even back when the Vita launched, like MLB 12 was one of the first games I bought because I found it extremely appealing. 162 game season on the go. And I of course I love the home theater experience. You sit in front of your TV, you got the console, but man, on the go is where it's at when it comes to sports games. Let's go. Give me NHL someday, please. I beg of you, EA.
And again, it's not even close. It's not even close. The experience that MLB The Show offers on like a current gen console is insane. The detail, the level of quality in those games, it's like legitimately unprecedented. Like those games are incredible on those platforms. But to me, having already seen that, I've played it. I've gotten wowed throughout the years. I know what it looks like. I appreciate it. I spent my time with it. I care about the gameplay at this point. I just want to be able to play as much as I can as possible.
Yeah, happy to hear it. What a win for gamers, let alone baseball fans who want to make that jump right now. Good stuff right there.
That does bring up real quick. That brings up a quick point I have is like, man, we really got to figure out. We're getting there with cross play, right? So like you and I can play against each other on different platforms with a lot of the major games now, and even cross progression's gotten there too. This has it. I can pick up my season from the Switch on the Xbox if I wanted to and stuff like that. We got to figure out cross purchasing because it just made me think like I would love to have this on everything, and just being able to like pay one price to get it on two platforms. If the developers can figure that out, I think we're like really in a good spot with the crossplay stuff. That's like the only thing we have left to nail down.
I never say never, man, because I never thought that cross play would get to the level it's at now, where it's almost mainstream. So to say that will never happen, maybe 5 years ago, I would have been like, "You're crazy. They'll never figure that out." But
Yeah.
now I'm like, they want to play together a little bit. You got people like Phil Spencer; they'll find a way.
I think it'll be more these companies owning their own digital storefronts and like selling you a bundle directly. You know, you buy like a MLB The Show bundle directly from the developer, and they give you a code for the Switch and a code for the PlayStation. So it's not, it's not PlayStation and Nintendo working together to figure out some kind of a cut. It's the developer selling you the game directly.
Yeah, time will tell for sure. So for me, it's been one thing and one thing only, and that is Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, which we'll get into in just a few moments. But worth the wait. Love the freshness of all of it, the different perspective. It's been a good time. I know JT from the Geekiverse, he's been playing that on the Switch. He was talking about the graphics being just a little underwhelming, which, hey, it's understandable. This is a big game. You think of Lego games, not so much in this context. This is a really, really big game. A lot of polish, especially on PS5 and Xbox Series X. And John, you've been playing that on PS5, right?
Yes. So Court and I, that was my idea, was the MLB The Show and Lego Star Wars came out the same day. I'm like, all right, I'm buying the show for me, but I'm buying Lego Star Wars for me and Courtney. So me and my wife, I'm like, you're playing this with me. Like, we always talk about how we want to try out like a co-op game together. We've always tossed around that idea. This is it. This is Lego Star Wars. It doesn't get much more like user friendly and like entry level in terms of gameplay than this. So we've only played about an hour and a half ish of episode 1, and that's we haven't gotten back to it yet. But so excited to hear your thoughts on it.
Yes, and boy, do I have some, and I've got some a little bit of a nostalgic, story that we'll dive into. Jumping into the question of the week, last episode that we had, so 2 weeks ago, I threw up a poll on the Buffalo Game Geeks Facebook group. I know John did one on Twitter, so we'll compare notes here. But what we asked is, with the news that another AAA title is delayed until 2023 with Breath of the Wild 2, do you think Starfield will hit its mark and release this November? So in the Buffalo Game Geek group.
Oh, Joe, we lost you for a second.
Am I here? I'm a little bit here.
Yeah, you're a little back now. Yeah, so you're just getting into the results there in the Buffalo Game Geek poll. If you didn't just freeze again.
Results are about 80% in favor of no way the game is slipping to December or 2023, and close to 20% would say yes, is not missing the date of November 11th, aka 11/11, which he tends to love. So, John, what do we have on the flip side with Twitter?
It was much closer on Twitter. It was 55% said it was getting delayed, and we had 45 say that it's coming out it's coming out this year. That's how I phrased it. I didn't even go like, do you think it's coming out on the release date? I just said, do you think it's coming out this year? But it doesn't have much room to slip, like you said, 11/11. Yeah, so similar. I mean, more people think it's getting delayed than say that it is coming out. Obviously, that's been something that I've been like really skeptical of personally. But hey, I hope I'm wrong. On our Twitter, somebody like linked us to an article saying that Starfield is fully playable from start to finish. Release date firmly set in stone. You click that article. It's from like altcharacter.com. There's like 300 words about it. I don't even see any direct quotes. So this seems like somebody who's just trying to like really will this into existence. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope we all are. I
hope you're wrong if the game is ready. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
let's
for sure.
Not have another buggy release. But yeah. Bethesda, that's happened the last few entries here.
That's kind of their shtick, and I think we're kind of at the point where like we're done with that, right? Like Bethesda is they're not just a developer. They're a publishing arm, right? And all of their other studios have been putting out great stuff. Whether you talk about Arcane or who does Wolfenstein?
id Software,
right? So, and then the Doom is who again? They have so many freaking developers at this point.
Yes, they've got a lot going on. So when Xbox took over, they took over a big family of developers.
Right. So my point is, every other developer under Bethesda's thanks Josh. Every other developer under Bethesda's publishing arm has been getting better and better, and they've been putting out quality titles without these issues. Bethesda Softworks, developer themselves, every game they've put out for I can think of since like Fallout 3 has been like kind of riddled with bugs. Even the good ones. Even Fallout 4 was like still pretty broken when it came out. So it's just like they seemingly have been very reluctant to upgrade their engines. It's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But it's 2022, and by today's standards, that stuff's kind of broken.
Yeah, I think they've got to nail this first one because this is the first one under Xbox Game Studio, so it's going to be a little bit under more scrutiny. I would think. I mean, they've got such a big pedigree, right? You look down the list, whether it's the Elder Scrolls or Doom or Fallout, Dishonored. This one matters, especially to Xbox being a Microsoft exclusive. So I think they've really got to get it right.
Yeah,
and I'm curious to see what that looks like.
Right, I think the scrutiny's even there too because of that. I mean, the fact that you've got these IP, you've had all this time, but now you've got the money behind Microsoft. You've got the big money behind you to make sure this is polished and to upgrade your engine or make a new one. So, I think we're at the point where there's no excuses. And again, not saying that Bethesda puts out trash games in a nutshell. Even the games that they put out that are buggy, usually we find some stuff to love about them, and they review pretty well. They're pretty well loved, with the exception of Fallout 76. But I think they got some work to do, and we'll see what happens with this one.
So for the question of the week this week, John, I don't know that we came up with one, but I wrote one down in case we did not.
Oh yeah, we did. You're right. We just
okay.
We sailed right past it.
So I think this is fitting. Which I'm fascinated to hear the mindset concerning Lego Star Wars. If you've played the game, or if you haven't, which trilogy would you start with? The game works is
that's a great question.
Yeah, you have to pick episode 1, episode 4, or episode 7, and then you got to go through that trilogy before you pick your next one. I kind of like the premise. You can't just go all over the map. You got to stick with a trilogy there. So what would you do? Is
that completely true? Can't you play multiple trilogies at a time?
I thought it was locked until you finish the trilogy. I could be wrong on that.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can hop around within the trilogy. You have to. It's basically like each trilogy is its own game. But I think you can be playing a trilogy and then like go back to the menu and start a new trilogy. I think you can, but that would be very weird. So I still think it's a very good question. Like, which one do you start with? There is one wrong answer. Like, for sure, there's a wrong answer. But there's two maybe right answers. So I'm interested to see how this goes.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about ours in just a moment. We already know actually where you started, but yeah, good to hear that. Get in the conversation with us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, youtube.com/thegeekiverse. So, question of the week: which trilogy would you start with in Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga? One bit of news here before we get into our Star Wars impressions, John, and it's something that I truly had just no inkling this was happening. I would say I am a little bit surprised, to be honest with you, but we're getting a Kingdom Hearts 4. So Kingdom Hearts 3 released just a few years ago, 2019, after a long period of development and anticipation from longtime mega Kingdom Hearts fans. I jumped into Kingdom Hearts 3 having never played any other Kingdom Hearts. I was confused as hell, but I'll say this. I still enjoyed my time because of the Disney tie-ins that the franchise is known to feature, and the gameplay was okay. I had my gripes about it, but John, Kingdom Hearts 4, what do we got here?
So I will say that I'm not surprised that we're getting a Kingdom Hearts 4. I'm just surprised that we're not getting a Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep 2.5 Dream Drop Distance, the final chapter remix prologue, plus 3 other ones first. That's what I expect out of Kingdom Hearts for the next decade. And the fact that this is like a new challenge for Kingdom Hearts to go right from one storyline to the other, it's like the fans are like, wow, what a bold strategy. They're going right from 3 to 4. Like, is this gonna work? This is insane. Wow, let's see if this works. What a novel idea to go right to the next game that comes out. Like, insane. So yeah, I'm definitely surprised that we're getting 4 right away. Again, we don't know much about it. There's no window. The game's in early development. My guess is like we don't see this until 2024 minimum is where I would be with it. Like minimum 2024.
I'm gonna take you up further. I'm saying this game's not coming until like 2028. I was sarcastic in the group message, and I said 2030 is when we're getting that game. But 2028 wouldn't surprise me. As you know, the development struggles / delays with Kingdom Hearts 3. It's kind of funny. John, you know my thoughts on. I think a lot of people in general are like, oh, you want to go see the third movie in that franchise? You got to watch the first two. Oh, you want to play the fifth game there? You got to play the first four. I don't feel that way in a lot of cases. However, I really don't feel that way with Kingdom Hearts 3 because I think if you played 1 and 2 and all the millions of little in-between games and the fractional releases and the remixes, you'd still be just as lost.
Dude,
the story makes no sense to me.
Nobody knows what's going on. Rashawn, if you're watching this eventually, we'll clip this out. You don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. I want Josiah, somebody who only played Kingdom Hearts 3, and somebody who has played every single game to sit down and give me their version of the story. And I bet you neither makes any sense. I bet you both you struggle just as bad to come up with plot points. The game is so ridiculously convoluted and confusing. Before Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, I watched hours of recap videos. I watched Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 be played through the entire way on Let's Plays, the entire freaking game, man. Plus people connecting these strings, like, I went over the top. I was basically like an encyclopedia of Kingdom Hearts knowledge for like 20 minutes. And I'm like, I'm not retaining any of this. This is absolutely bonkers. None of this makes sense. Just let me go play Frozen.
Dude, that's it. I was just going to bring that up. I'm like, here's my iteration of Kingdom Hearts 3. I played a little bit of the movie Frozen. I played some of Tangled. I played some Toy Story. That was pretty freaking cool. That was almost like the Lego formula, right? You take your favorite IPs and you go play through them. But Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy style, almost. I could not tell you anything about that story.
Here's what I'll say about...
Key to the light will unlock the love in your heart.
What does that mean? Wait, so are you saying that Kingdom Hearts is a place? It's a theory? What is my Kingdom Hearts? Whatever. Well, here's what I'll say. I love the theory of Kingdom Hearts. I love Kingdom Hearts in theory. The music is incredible. The animation is so cool. Final Fantasy crossed with Disney. Like, this world, back in the day when I was an Xbox owner and I was seeing Kingdom Hearts commercials on TV, I'm like, what is this incredible world? Like, I was a Dragon Ball Z fan back in the day, so like I was like into baby anime. Like, you know, I was like, whoa, this is insane. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. Like, it's just bonkers. But again, don't let that stop you from playing it. There's fun to be had. The music is still great. The animation is still cool, and there's very fun worlds to visit. Right? Like, it's just go in with the right expectations if you're gonna hop into Kingdom Hearts for the first time.
Yes, please do, because I'll tell you what. I left Kingdom Hearts 3 saying that story was bullshit. I don't understand any of it. But you know what? I'd play Kingdom Hearts 4. That's saying something. The gameplay isn't necessarily anything to write home about, but what appeals to me in like a Lego game is kind of the ease and the simplicity, and you kind of shut your brain off and you still have a good time with it. You don't have to be super in depth. That's how I felt about that. And I played through a lot of properties that I loved, like a Toy Story or even a Monsters Inc. That's super fun to me. What happened in the actual real world story, like, it all felt like a dream to me. So curious to see where that goes. And John, you're so right. Find me someone who could try to explain that story to me, because I remember watching videos like you did in the lead up to that game in 2019, and I watched like a 30-minute recap of the story so far from, I want to say, Jonathan Dornbush.
Yes, for sure.
I was almost mad afterwards.
You want to know my main takeaway after watching that? My main takeaway was like, John, you have no idea what you're talking about either. So you're just as confused as I am, dude. Like, all right, let's just throw our hands up and walk away from this. Nobody knows.
That's the thing. I want people to admit it. I don't know why. Why do I care? Like Rashawn. Rashawn, I hope you come around again. I want you to be like, yeah, I know. I don't know what's going on.
Nobody knows. But to talk a little bit about Kingdom Hearts 4, the one thing I'm slightly worried about is that, like, reading people who claim to understand Kingdom Hearts, it seems like the focus they're going is more towards like the real world stuff and maybe a little bit less of the Disney stuff. The art style is a little more grounded. It's a little more realistic. A lot of people have some issues with Sora not having like the big feet. Who knows? But the one little Easter egg we did get for one of the possible worlds, we got to talk about that. So that trailer drops. One of the first things we see is like this forest. It's just a quick flash of this forest. It's a little bit dark. It's a little bit almost like almost like Seattle. Kind of gives me those kind of vibes, right? Like the Pacific Northwest. We see some running water, and it just cuts away. But if you break that down, first of all, Endor vibes right off the bat. That looks like Endor. But people have looked, and there is very, very visibly a foot of an ATST. There's an AT-AT. I forgot what it was at this point, but
ST.
Yeah, AT-ST, the smaller ones. So there's definitely a foot of an AT-ST chilling there.
Dude,
so we're getting to go to Endor in Kingdom Hearts. We're getting the Star Wars crossover, man. That's freaking cool.
Those stupid jerks, they roped me right back in. Dude, all I've seen, by the way, I should admit, I've not watched the presentation. I've not watched the trailer for this. I saw the screenshot. That's good enough for me. And you know what's funny? It's probably a 50-hour story or something ridiculous. And that's like a 2-hour slice. But damn it, I'm going to play that game.
I want it. It's getting cool. I'm just so excited to see how they do that. Like, what do they bring in? Like, what characters from Star Wars do they bring in? Like, I'm sure it's going to be Ewoks. I mean, it's going to mix well with Kingdom Hearts, I think, and it's going to be on Endor. But, like, how crazy do you get with that? I don't know.
Oh, my gosh. What was it No, not Destiny. Why am I forgetting what the game was? Okay, I'll circle back to that. They came with all like the Star Wars figures, Marvel figures, Disney characters.
Oh, Disney Infinity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Disney Infinity. So how that series happened was very similar, where you would explore worlds. So you would explore Guardians of the Galaxy, you'd explore the Star Wars prequels, whatever it was. That was so much fun. Very much like the Lego games. With this, I've always wanted in my head a Kingdom Hearts 4 where you go and visit Star Wars worlds and Marvel worlds, because there's so much for Marvel you could do. You could just make a game out of those two properties and just print money, basically.
For sure.
But even since then, they've bought other properties. Like, I would sign up for an Avatar world. There's other properties that Disney owns that would make that really interesting. And even if we had to wait 5-6 years from now, I would sign up for that.
Yeah, it's cool the possibilities, because this is like the first kind of non-classic Disney, world that they're seemingly going with. This is the first of those like purchases that Disney has made that is making its way into a Kingdom Hearts. So interesting. It just kind of like light bulb went off. Every time you go to a different world in Kingdom Hearts, Sora gets a new like Keyblade themed around that world. Give me a freaking lightsaber, man. A lightsaber Keyblade, that would be so freaking cool. That would be so cool. J Mac in the chat asked, do you think that Marvel will be in the game? I don't know. I hope so. Like, you don't have to do MCU stuff. Like, Fortnite did that whole Marvel theme season, and it was all like non-MCU related Marvel stuff, but it was still so much fun. Like, they had the little area of upstate New York where Tony Stark's cabin was, like all sorts of really, really cool stuff that you've got. Like, the possibilities are endless. Do I think so? I have no idea, but I freaking hope so.
Dude, yeah, again, I could not sign up any faster if that was the case. My goodness gracious. Give me all of that right now. John, I can't believe we talked about Kingdom Hearts for that long, and I can't believe we've made it this far into the episode without really talking about, we did a little bit, but Lego Star Wars. The Skywalker Saga, it's here. We sat together when we watched the E3 where this was announced in my house. What a fun time that was. An announcement that came out of nowhere, because we got a lot of Lego Star Wars games over the years. But here we got the entire saga. Good stuff happened. It's to play through all 9 movies. You got some character DLC from Solo, Rogue One. Tell me what your experience has been so far. I've got a lot to say. I'd love to talk about it. If you have questions, questions live at twitch.tv/thegeekiverse. I've sunk a good amount of time into this. So, John, you've been playing with you played about an hour and a half, you said, for episode 1.
Sounds about right.
What do you like so far? Hit me.
It's what I expected it to be so far, but I mean that in a good way. I've stayed away from the Lego games because I played about 10 minutes of a Marvel game with like share play on PS4 with a buddy once, just like hopped in. I played a little bit with them, and I'm like, okay, I understand what these Lego games are. I'm going through a specific story. I can play as whatever characters I want from that franchise, and I can just beat the crap out of stuff and collect bricks and just like get a very condensed but comedical version of that story. I got it. I understand these Lego games, and it's just not for me. It's not the way I want to experience those stories. Maybe one day, whatever. It's just never been a thing. This one gets announced, and I can tell that it's different. I can tell that like they are putting the effort in here, like to make this a more cinematic quality. Like they're putting the bells and whistles in, but at the end of the day, I think the gameplay is still going to be the same. Pretty similar. If it wasn't for the idea to play this with my wife and do co-op, I probably wouldn't have gotten it. But I'm excited that I did. So we put about an hour and a half into it, and I would say that like all my thoughts were confirmed. But I'm still excited. Like I'm still pumped to play this with her and to go through all 9 movies eventually. It's just shallow, like popcorn flick entertainment, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm excited about it. I don't have the touchstones of like playing all these games and being able to see all the improvements. I know they're there, so I don't think I appreciate them as much as someone like you might.
Well, let me talk about this game. So, I think when Lego Star Wars originally hit, this is 2005. It was episodes 1 through 3. They started with the prequels, not the original trilogy. Think about that. We're right in the heart of the prequel trilogy coming out. Original Xbox. I remember a review my dad telling me he read it in like the paper or something, which is funny.
He said,
a paper. What's a paper? He said it was kind of akin to being a snack for video games, and I think that's very true. It's an easy game, but it's so much fun. You play through, the different easy levels. But 2006, whenever we got the surprise October storm in New York, we had this big snowstorm. Lauren and I dating about a year at that point. And we got stuck together. She was over at my house with my family. We're 15 at that point. We got a power generator. What do? We play through that entire game. And this is where the nostalgia kicks in big time for me. It's Star Wars. You all know how much I love Star Wars, but take it to another notch. It's kind of formative years for Lauren and I, just dating. And we played, I think we 100% of that game on the original Xbox. And then on the 360, a few years later in 07, so a year later in 07, the original trilogy comes out. They call it Lego Star Wars 2. We played through that again, get all the gamer score you can get, 1,000 gamer score on Xbox 360. That game just forever was ingrained in my head because of how special that experience was in those late nights. And you had power generators. It was a crazy time in Buffalo, New York with what was going on, because we've had more snow before. We just didn't have it in that capacity where we lost.
It was October, so all the leaves were still on the trees. This was pre-fall, so it was like a decent amount of snow, but it happened in the middle of October, so all the trees started falling down. It was crazy. It was a national disaster. Like if you haven't heard of it, look it up. Like that was actually insane. National disaster. Totally natural disaster.
It was crazy to live through. Like not a ton of danger, but hey, you're without power for a while. So we did that. Fast forward to today, and I'm playing the game, and I get it. By the way, I started with episode 1 as well. I just felt like it was right, especially since the original game was episode 1.
As much as I like the not gonna spoil that. I already did. As much as I enjoy a lot from the sequel trilogy, I feel like it would be so weird to start with that. But then my confirmations were even more so confirmed, I guess I should say, when somebody, I think it was Barrett Courtney, Kind of Funny, he said he started with that and he didn't get a Jedi until like the end of that game. You can't play with a Jedi until like the game's almost over.
He started with episode 7?
Yeah.
That's weird.
So you don't.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's very weird. So like, it's, I think even more so knowing the fact like, oh yeah, you don't get to use a lightsaber until like the end of that game, basically.
No, listen, John. You and I both know that episode 7 is the best Star Wars movie, but you don't start with it. You build up to it. You know.
Right. There, you build up for sure. That's such a weird thing.
That is a weird thing, and even I knew that was wrong. I thought I was going to do the original trilogy and do chronological release order, but I didn't. I did episode 1. Just about 4 out of 5 levels through episode 6, Return of the Jedi. I love that this is totally rebuilt. So Frank, our friend on Facebook, he brought up, hey, should I play this game? Is it different from the 360 era? Totally different. And it's not just the style where this is kind of third person in a way. It is different in the aspect that they rebuilt everything here.
Right.
You play different levels. You play different story beats. It's not just, oh, you're in the Tantive 4 in the beginning of A New Hope. It's different perspective. It's different dialogue. What people love about the dialogue in like a Mass Effect game, and you've got that very small hint of an RPG here with side characters. Like all of it's here that you wouldn't see in a typical Lego game. And what is really special, I'm talking about, playing this with my wife 15 years ago almost, is I've got Daisy, my 3.5-year-old, who's kind of like dabbled here and there. She's played, like I let her have the Switch to run around in Breath of the Wild. I gave her the control when I was in the open world in Horizon, and she just loves running around and just doing whatever. Really not a lot of anything. So I was like, hey, I've got a video game. Let's play. The only thing you've really truly played is Peppa Pig on the Nintendo Switch. So she's watched all the Lego Star Wars specials that are on Disney Plus with me. She's starting to know some of the characters. Said, I got a video game today. Let's go play Lego Star Wars. So I can't how perfect this game is for diehard Star Wars fans, but also if you have kids who maybe can't quite grasp what they need to do in a video game yet, but they're on the path to it. So in old Lego video games, Lauren and I would play, and you would share the screen, John, as you've seen in the Marvel game that you played. Like, I can't progress enough to the right until my other player, and Lauren in this case, follows me. We have to be on the same page to move the screen. It's got to follow both of you. You can't just veer off the path. This game is not that. I can basically run through the entire thing. I can go into new areas. I can go into new levels. And Daisy, again, my 3.5-year-old, can really do whatever she wants. And when I get a new story chapter or a new beat, then she gets sucked in.
Yes.
That's perfect.
So
oh my gosh.
I can't speak from the experience of having a child, but my fully developed 28-year-old wife, very, very similar situation where it's like I am just right. She's stuck somewhere. She can't get up like a staircase or something like that. Like Jar Jar Binks is in her way or something like that. She just can't figure it out. I'm like, she asked me, how do I do it? I'm like, honestly, don't worry about it. I'm almost at the checkpoint. I'll get us out of here. I'll get us out of here. So yeah, right. That, you know what? I didn't think of it that from that perspective, but I was benefiting from it. I was almost thinking like, the split screen's a little jarring because you're focusing on two different things. It's a little tough. She's in chat. Okay, come on. Sorry, I didn't realize she was still awake. Should have been talking shit. But
I was waiting for it.
Yeah, no, but you're right. Absolutely, that's a huge benefit to be able to just control the game and progress the story, while someone who doesn't really. It is, we take for granted as people who have played games our whole lives, how comfortable we are with moving with a joystick, right? Left stick is straightforward back, and the right stick is look up and down and stuff like that. That's just second nature to us. But someone who doesn't do that and hasn't done that for years, that's jarring. They're constantly looking at the floor, looking at the sky, having to turn, and then turn. It takes a while to learn. Think about yourself when the first time you played a game with twin sticks. It's a lot. So to be able to take control like that, whether you have a very young child or a wife who just doesn't have much experience with video games, I'm not going there again. It's awesome to have.
Courtney, don't you worry. I'm rooting for you there. J-Mac, you had asked if the Star Wars anthology movies were, you think, video game. I don't think so. You've only got Rogue One and Solo at this point, but I can see DLC down the road, maybe paid DLC, of course, where you can play some of those missions. And even that seems a little far-fetched with some of the crunch that we heard and the development structure here to get this game out, even in this year that we got it out. But yeah, John, it's really special to play with her. And I remember looking over and we finished the level, and to get to the next point, you have to both hold X on the dual sense, right? It'll say, do you really want to play this mission? You hold X, but you both have to do it. She was having trouble with that at first. She can identify the button, no problem, but holding it, she was not grasping. So Lauren was showing her a little bit, hey, you got to hold it, and this is what it looks like. So after a while, we'll just go up to something, and now she's beating me to that. And she'll be like, Daddy, let's go. The two just best points here I'll leave off with. She's sitting on the one end of the couch. I'm over here, and I'm playing. And Lauren just kind of looks at me, and we're smiling, and she goes, did you ever think 15 years ago you'd be playing Lego Star Wars with a daughter like that? And I was like, oh my gosh, dude. No, I never thought that. Oh my gosh, it hit me in the feels so hard. And then there was a point where there was a loading screen for the next mission. And by the way, the loading screens are very quick in this game. And we're waiting, and Daisy looks at me and she goes, Daddy, let's do this. And I freaking lost it, man. It's just, that's what makes games so special. It's these experiences. It's with friends. It's with your family, your spouse. Because it's so social, right? Like that's what all these are about. So Lego Star Wars really provides that experience, and I could not recommend it more if it's something you're looking to get into, whether it's your 28-year-old wife or you got a young kid at home. I think it's very special.
It's so cool.
So
yeah, cool.
Awesome stuff. I can't wait to keep going. I'm almost at the end of Return of the Jedi. I'm really excited to get into Force Awakens. We've never had episode 8 and 9 in a Lego video game. That's obviously almost here for me. So this is a game I'm totally going to platinum. Can't wait to get through the rest of that. This looks gorgeous, by the way. The shine on the Legos is really awesome.
The ray tracing, like the next gen graphics, like yes, it's a Lego game, but it's animated, it's a cartoon. It looks awesome.
It looks like you're basically playing with physical Legos. They did an amazing job. J-Mac also mentioned it in the Twitch chat. The Clone Wars voice characters. Yeah, man. That's pretty awesome to see, because some of the other games ripped just audio from the movies, which is fun. But you've got James Arnold Taylor doing Obi-Wan Kenobi. Just totally special. Sam Witwer, I believe, doing Anakin Skywalker. Just especially if you've been a long time Star Wars fan, this one really hits close to home, and it's been really good so far. So hope everyone else is enjoying it.
One disappointment I will say is that they didn't get a young Jake Lloyd to do young Anakin, because that's been jarring. Because young Anakin is a very specific voice to me, so this new kid, not cutting it.
Yes, I'm also sorry they didn't get a young Jake Lloyd to do this.
Honestly, this kid's he's not going to work out. I think we might have to bully him and affect his life forever.
It's the trials, right? The Jedi trials. You got to go through them. Yeah, he definitely was jarring. I was like, oh, Skywalker, get out of here.
Although he did hit the yippee pretty well. The yippee hit. That was pretty good. That was the one thing. Like, all right, you got something right.
That's also a fair point. One thing I do love also in this game is you can turn off the voice acting and change it back to the mumbling. So the original Lego games kind of had just this mumbling essentially. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So instead of actual spoken words and language, you can change it back to that, which I think is such a nice thing. And you don't have to get a cheat code or unlock it. It's just there right from the beginning.
Also, I will say that's one thing. Like, I haven't actually done this yet, but I'm a big TikToker. I'm on the TikTok all the time, and like it knows that I like video games and Star Wars. So naturally, I'm seeing like Lego Star Wars stuff. The fact that you just punch in cheat codes to unlock characters is like so nostalgic. I'm just scrolling through TikTok, and everyone's like, "Wait, stop scrolling! If you want to play as X, Y, or Z, punch in this cheat code." I'm like, "This is pretty freaking cool! Like this is awesome." Can't wait. I've got like a bunch of them favorited, so I can like add characters.
I was going to say another thing that's really cool. All the character cheat codes that are out there, you can do that, and it does not prohibit you from getting certain trophies for collections. So nice touch there, because that could be a game-breaking awful bug. But Traveler's Tales has it so you can do that without ruining your progress. So good stuff there. The map, by the way, you pause the game or even you bring up the light bar in the DualSense. This is very in-depth. It's got everywhere.
It's slightly overwhelming. As somebody who was kind of expecting like a low-key, like chill game, Lego experience, playing with my wife who doesn't play games very often, like I'm expecting this Lego story. There's side quests popping up. This Gungan's trying to get me to do like a chore. I'm like, bro, I'm just here to talk to the big guy to get out of here. Like I'm like Jar Jar's in big doo-doo now. I don't have time for you, my friend.
Yeah, it is overwhelming at first, and I felt that way, and I feel like I know a lot of Star Wars, right? Like, and I was looking around and I was like, oh gosh, I need to color this map in a little bit, essentially. It's a lot for sure, but I feel way better being where I'm at in the game, which is natural in RPG element games.
Right.
But really, really, they left no stone unturned here for that. That's pretty awesome. It's clear the care that went into this from seemingly Star Wars fans as well. So Lego Star Wars, man, go check it out. Really enjoyed it. If you're on PS5, add me. You can find me at I am Josiah. I'd love to play with you, a little co-op when I'm not playing with Daisy, of course. I think that's all I wanted to mention. Maybe we'll circle back, but anything else I'm missing that you wanted to bring up on this game, John?
No, I think we got there. I just really wanted to hear your impressions about that game. I'm still excited to play more of it. Like that's something that like we're gonna commit. We're gonna play it all. Like we're gonna sit down. Courtney's gonna be a Lego Star Wars master by the end of this. She's gonna because we had a blast. Like it felt a lot like when we sit down and do our Lego sets that we've been working on. Like it's a really fun time to play with somebody else, especially someone who's not like really into games. Like it's a great entry path into using a controller and like a property that we both really love. So yeah, I'm gonna report back on the progress for sure.
Love to hear it. I think it's gonna be awesome. Perfect game to go through co-op. And I gotta say too, the twists on the story have been fun because we for the most part, especially if you're a Star Wars fan, you know all the stories to this point, forward and back. But the fun spin that they've put on a lot of them has been really fun, and it's always comedic and it's geared towards kids. And there are a few laugh out loud moments for me and Daisy. So yeah, definitely can't recommend it enough. Go check out Lego Star Wars.
Oh, I do want to mention one moment. We had like an old school gaming moment where like you know how you're just like trying to break the game and it's like, what can I do in this game? It's like a sandbox. Like what can I do? We had that moment. We were on Tatooine, and Courtney found out, first of all, she found out she can control R2 because you're there with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Padme and R2, and she switches to R2, and she's like freaking out. She's just zooming all over the place, like having a ball, loves being R2. And then I'm Obi-Wan, and that's like the first time they introduced the mechanic that you can like pick up crates and like figure stuff out. And somehow she ends up on top of the crate. I'm like, don't move. I'm like, I'm going to see where I can put you. So I pulled her up, and I'm just like trying to put her on top of buildings and stuff. I'm like, do not touch anything. Do not roll off this crate. We're gonna find something out. We didn't go anywhere too cool. I got her on top of a building or something like that. But like it was we were both just dying laughing. It was so much fun. Like those are the kind of experiences that I love about these games.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, for sure. This is a game to do that in. She was doing donuts. Yeah, Daisy is definitely loved. There's so many parallels here between Courtney and Daisy. It's funny. Daisy loved being R2 because she was so fast. Like, if
got the wheels.
You go for like 3 seconds, you go into turbo mode essentially. So yeah, she was all about it. That would be fun. I think if Daisy and Courtney teamed up. Just saying.
My God.
I would love to see that.
Nobody would hit the checkpoints. They'd be stuck.
Let's make it happen, damn it. All right, Lego Stars. That's a good way for us to segue into the end of our episode here for Busy Sticks, the week of April 14th. Man, I could talk about this all night, but we'll reserve that for now and maybe bring it back on a future episode. John, I don't know if you know this. We've got a little bit of a TikTok celeb on this episode right here, and his name is John Fick. John,
I don't know, man.
Talk about where you are the guy.
But your videos have been taken off, man. The ones where so just for some context, we're the Geekiverse is on TikTok. We're having fun with it. Follow us. We're at the Geekiverse. No underscores. Just we finally got our own handle. Awesome. We've been having fun with these guess the Star Wars character videos, but the ones where Josiah doesn't get it are just skyrocketing. Anytime Josiah misses one, it's so funny. People love to hate you, dude. They're like, this guy really sucks at this, huh? And I'm just like restraining myself. Like, all right, this is the internet, people suck, just like the comment and move on. But yeah,
you know what I say to those people? You know what I say to them? Get to know me, Dan.
Yeah, right, for sure.
And part two to that, it's rare, if I could so humbly say so, that I don't get one. So maybe that's why they're taking off. All right.
Maybe
I'm only a little bit kidding.
Is that maybe why I've only posted those ones basically so far? I don't know. I guess we'll never know. But it's been fun. So follow along. We're gonna keep making those. We're gonna make variations on those. We've posted a few MCU ones. We did it with something like the Sabres game. Like that was really cool. We're gonna keep getting silly with it. Follow us on TikTok. It's fun. Yeah,
and dude, your personal experience on TikTok has been awesome from what I've seen as well. So keep killing it on the views there. Yeah, what kind of friend is this guy? You know, he's putting all my failures in the world.
I know that's where the views are, man.
John knows where the algorithms are. I'll tell you that. He has figured out that he's cracked the code on TikTok, and we're forever grateful for that. We are having a good time. We're doing TikToks all over the place. Sabres games, other half, you name it. Can't wait to do more as the weather's getting nicer here. It's going to be exciting in the coming months. I'll tell you that. John, where can people find you on social media? And if they liked our discussion on Lego Star Wars, if they're a Star Wars fan, what other property of the Geekiverse should they check out?
You can find me at Disruptoid on just about everything social media. Other shows Star Wars related, we're watching them all, man. We're watching them, we're ranking them. Star Wars Reviewed is we haven't done one of those in 2 weeks either. We've been on a bit of a hiatus, but we're on what? We're on episode 8, right? Episode 8. Yeah, so we're
actually
Rogue One, you're right. Yes.
Yep.
So we are watching the two spin-offs as well. So we're about to do Rogue One. We just finished episode 7, which is currently our number 1 ranked movie, no matter what Twitter says. Currently number 1. So Rogue One is next. That's been fun. If you're looking for an excuse to rewatch those movies, hang out with us because we're enjoying it too.
Yeah, 100%. You can find me at I am Josiah. The Force Awakens is the greatest of all time. Just going to say that. Check out all of those episodes today at youtube.com/thegeekiverse. If you'd rather listen in podcast form, you can find those in a catalog on just about any podcast service around the globe that you subscribe to. So we'd appreciate that. We also do the MCU Reviewed if you like Marvel. We had a big episode a few weeks back on the Avengers Endgame. It was quite emotional. We had a great time talking through all of that. Get in the conversation. Join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, if you like what you're doing or like what you're seeing and hearing, you can visit us at patreon.com/thegeekiverse and subscribe to what we've got going on there. Last plug, check out our merchandise store at thegeekiverse.storeenvy.com. We've got over 20 designs, pop culture merchandise, including Geekiverse branded logo tees that you can pick up today. For John, I'm Josiah. Thanks so much for catching us on this episode of Busy Sticks and at twitch.tv/thegeekiverse. We'll see you all next week. Have a wonderful Easter weekend.